Alright, man, look, got another video. Hakeem Olajuwon is a better player than Kareem, and it's not even close. Part 2. Kind of touch base on this a little bit in the first video, but I'm going to give some more details about it. Like I said, all of Kareem's NBA success comes off the backs of the two greatest point guards of all time, Oscar Robertson and Magic Johnson. The proof is irrefutable. If you know NBA history, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, just a prime example, Kareem had 5 years of being in his prime without either Oscar or Magic. And in those 5 years, Kareem missed the playoffs twice, got eliminated by old Willis Reed. Willis Reed, who had never averaged 22 points a game in a season, averaged 28 points a game on Kareem and got him right out the playoffs. He lost to Jack Sigma and the Seattle Sonics. And he got swept by busted up knees Bill Walton and the Trailblazers. Now, those are the 5 years that Kareem was in his prime and, couldn't deliver, could never carry, could never do what Olajuwon did. Olajuwon goes in there and carries a team every year to the playoffs, dominates in the playoffs every year. I mean, his teams can't help him win, but dominates every single year. And then finally, when he gets a decent amount of role players, a rookie Sam Cassell, a second year Robert Ory, an overmatched Kenny Smith, and I will say Otis Thorpe was solid, but that's who he wins a ring with. Zero All Stars, zero All NBA teammates, zero All Defensive teammates, and zero Hall of Fame coach. Rudy T's in the Hall of Fame now, but only because of Hakeem Olajuwon. I think he ever won a series or two without Hakeem Olajuwon on his roster. Now, put that aside. Let's talk about what Kareem did in his prime. Now, Kareem, first year he's in the league, he doesn't have Oscar Robertson yet, but he does have two Hall of Famers, John McLaughlin and Bob Dandridge. They have a great record, but in the first round, like I said, 1970s playoffs, he actually gets eliminated by an old Willis Reed, 28 points a game, knocks him right out the playoffs. As soon as Oscar comes in, that starts Kareem's first of two scoring titles that he had in a 20-year career. If he's supposed to be the greatest scorer of all time, how can he only have two scoring titles? Both of them comes off the backs of Oscar Robertson's efforts, drawing the defense, kicking it out, getting them high percentage shots constantly. So that's 2 seasons. Oscar Robertson pushed Kareem to the greatest he could be at that point. So 1971, Oscar Robertson joins the Bucks. Oscar Robertson, Lucius Allen, Bob Boozer, Gene Smith, they all join Kareem and they win 66 games and they win the ring. Now in the finals, that's the only ring that Kareem has where he was the best player on the team. Matter of fact, that's the only ring that he has where he was not the third best player on his team. Every other ring, he was the third best player on his team. Now, I mean, is it a coincidence that he only had to beat 6'7" Wes Unseld, who only averaged 14 points a game? I don't know if that's just a coincidence, but that's the only time Kareem was ever the best player on his team that won a ring. Then, in 1973, whenever he's going up against Nate Thurmond in the playoffs, now, Nate Thurmond is not even known as an offensive scorer, but he was putting up 25 points a game on Kareem. Now, Nate Thurmond was known for being a great defensive player. Now, what he was doing to Kareem was he lowered his, 30 points a game in the regular season. He dropped it all the way down to 23 points a game in the playoffs and kept him to like 41% field goal. Now, if it wasn't for Oscar that year, he would have got eliminated in the first round, but Oscar's the man, and he was actually dishing out passes to Bob Dandridge, and Dandridge ended up leading that series in points, and they get past Nate Thurmond. Then they end up losing to the Lakers with Wilt and Jerry West. The only reason why they beat the Lakers the year before is because Jerry West was not on the team. After that, next year, 1973, same thing comes around. Nate Thurmond in the playoffs is smacking Kareem around. And this time, Oscar's dealing with injuries, and his 19 points a game drops down to like 9 or 10 points a game, and he can't carry Kareem anymore, and they get eliminated by Nate Thurman. So 1974 comes around, you know, Thurman's on his last year in the league. Um, the Bucks make the finals again, but this is when, with Oscar, Kareem gets outplayed by 6'9" Dave Cowens in Game 7 of the 1974 finals. Dave Cowens put up 25 points, 14 rebounds on like 57% field goal, gets Kareem out of there with Oscar. That's pretty rough when you get eliminated in a Game 7 against a 6'9" Dave Cowens. I mean, he's not even tall enough to be a center, and he's dominating. Well, I wouldn't say dominated, but he outplayed Kareem in that playoffs. So first year Oscar retires, boom, Kareem misses the playoffs. He breaks his hand by punching the pillar in a preseason game, misses a ton of games, and the Bucks miss the playoffs. I mean, everyone's gonna say he was injured, but he injured himself and he cost his team the playoffs. Next year, he gets traded to the Lakers. He leads the Lakers, even though he had Gail Goodrich, leads the Lakers to a 40-42 record, losing record, misses the playoffs, but since the league is so trash at that time, he still wins MVP. What kind of league is so trash that your best player can't even make the playoffs? That's where Kareem got the majority of his MVPs all through that year. The only ones he had to compete with Bob McAdoo, Dave Cowens, and Bill Walton. These guys are not even top 30 players, and that's who he was competing with to get his MVPs. Then he gets Jamal Wilkes, Adrian Dantley, and and Norm Nixon. Now during this time, they get bounced out the playoff 2 years in a row. He only wins one playoff series, one out of two. I mean, one out of three. Sorry, and gets eliminated both times. Here comes Magic in 1980, saves his butt, rate takes his field goal percentage to the highest it's ever been, and leads them through the playoffs. Kareem had the better numbers as far as points per game goes, but Magic was doing everything. And in Game 6, the final game of that finals that year, Kareem is at the house with an injury while Magic is doing everything on the court, carries the Lakers to another ring. Kareem's first with the Lakers. The rest of those years, it was nothing but Magic Johnson and James Worthy basically carrying Kareem the whole way through, allowing him to load manage his minutes, come in, get his points, not run back on defense, get easy layups and easy dunks from Kareem. I mean, from Magic, tossing it down to him. I mean, the rest of the time, it was Magic and Worthy winning these games for him. Kareem's last finals, his sixth ring, he averaged 13 points a game on like 20 minutes, 13 minutes a game, something like that. It was terrible. So, once again, Kareem is nowhere near Olajuwon. Could never do what Olajuwon did, could never carry like Olajuwon did. And he never led his team in so many categories the way Olajuwon did. I mean, there's so many other reasons why Olajuwon is so much better than Kareem. I mean, I don't know if I'll make another video about it, but that should be enough to expose Kareem fanboys to the reality of Kareem's career. So, all right, man, I had to do it. I didn't want to disrespect anybody, but the truth must be told.